It is October 11th, 2022 at 9 a.m. So I would now like to call this meeting to order and ask that you please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
You will enjoy the fruit of your labor. How joyful and prosperous you will be. Psalms 128:2. Dear God, how thankful we are to be blessed with these words and the courage and faith that you have given our city to use them throughout this past weekend. Lord, we thank you for the staff you have blessed upon the city. We thank you for their visions and their talents. The fruit of their labors were apparent by the joyful spirit witnessed in our town. Lord, we thank you for our volunteers. They truly give of themselves. With you by their side, all things are possible. Lord, above all else, we thank you for the love and support from our community. We are defined by a sense of family. Please continue to watch over each and every member of our family. Bless this meeting day and all those present, as well as the lives of those we encounter afterwards. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Childs. Okay, we will move on to item 3, motion. Motion finding that the advanced posting and notice requirements of Article 8.1200 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Orange, Texas have been met in relation to all minutes and pending ordinances and resolutions on this agenda, and that the reading of such items be confined to the captions as are agreed upon by the ordinances and resolutions. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. On to item 4, citizen comments. At this time, comments will be taken from the audience on any subject matter, whether or not that item is on the agenda. All comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes for each speaker. Your comments are appreciated. As the Texas Open Meetings Act does not allow the council to respond to items not listed on the agenda, your comments will be duly noted by the council and forwarded to the appropriate department for prompt consideration. A member of the audience that desires to speak during the city council's consideration of any specific agenda item is requested to notify city staff prior to the start of the meeting. At this time, there is no one on the citizen comments list, but if there is anyone who'd like to address the council, please come forward, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Okay. If there is no one who would like to address the council, we will move on to item 5, city announcements, city staff announcements, and city events. Ms. Gravitt?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So the Convention and Visitors Bureau staff is over the moon with the success that Orangetober, just everything this weekend. The weather, the attendance, the help that we received, and we have several people that we would like to thank. I'm going to list a few here. Of course, our Parks Department for building our beautiful pumpkin house that we had out there, and everything else that they helped us with. There are just too many things to name. Our Police Department, the Greater Orange Area Chamber of Commerce, Orange County Disaster Rebuild, United Way, Rotary, 3 Rows Running, a plethora of volunteers, and of course, all of our vendors. There are so many other people to name that helped us out with this event. We couldn't have done it without the entire community, so we just wanted to really say thank you to everyone.
Thank you. That's it. Okay, well, so before you sit down, Ms. Gravitt, I know the rest of your team isn't here, but I do want to stand and say thank you for everyone. And I know that we talk about all the other groups continuously doing a wonderful job. The reason that I want you ladies and everyone that was a volunteer to understand is the thing that this council has pushed for the last several years is we say we put God first and we're bringing families back together. Your event brought families back together. And so thank you for that. And we're excited. I actually had several people ask me if they could buy the building that was constructed. So maybe the city can open up a new business of building those little buildings and use that money for donations or something. Okay, on to proclamation. So we have a proclamation this morning for breast and ovarian cancer awareness. Okay. Proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, City of Orange. Whereas September and October are National Ovarian and Breast Cancer Awareness Months, with campaigns established to heighten information on the risks and symptoms of these diseases to advance early detection and interventions. And whereas ovarian cancer is known as a silent disease due to its vague symptoms that make it difficult to discover until latent stages with a devastating prognosis. And whereas breast cancer is the most common cancer among American women, except for skin cancers, and approximately 1 in 8 women in the U.S. will develop invasive breast cancer during her lifetime. And whereas this year, it is estimated that more than 310,000 women will be diagnosed with either breast or ovarian cancer, and 57,000 women will die from these diseases in the United States. And where it is imperative that Southeast Texans are educated about breast cancer and the availability of free mammograms for women who cannot afford health insurance through the Gift of Life Women's Breast Health and Cancer Prevention Program. And whereas Gift of Life annually provides thousands of breast cancer screenings and diagnostic mammograms, ultrasounds, and biopsies with access to cancer treatment to medically underserved Southeast Texas women. And whereas Gift of Life has helped extend the lives of nearly 275 women whose breast cancer was detected through its free critical services, and whereas to heighten awareness of those diseases and raise funds for its provision of cancer prevention and educational outreach, Gift of Life will host the 12th annual Julie Richardson Proctor 5K Ribbon Run Monster Dash in downtown Beaumont on Saturday, October 29th. Now therefore, I, Larry Spears Jr., Mayor of the City of Orange, Texas, do hereby proclaim today, Tuesday, October 11th, as Gift of Life Breast and Ovarian Cancer Awareness Day in Orange. And I also urge all women in our community to pursue preventative health practices and early detection efforts. Congratulations. Now, I would do the 5K, but I did one Saturday and I'm still hurting.
Oh.
Maybe by the end of the month I'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
Let's get a picture we got. We're gonna go in here in a minute.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor and City Council, for allowing Gift of Life to come before you and share this important message. My name is Quintella Smith, and today joining with me, I have Ms. Beverly Perry, who's a staple here in the area and has been with Gift of Life and providing service for many, many years. And Connie Getwood, who's also a volunteer with us with Gift of Life. And it is such a great volunteer-based project because the need here is great. The need in Southeast Texas and also across the nation is great. Just not to be repetitive, but to share some statistics with you. It's, with the exception, like Mayor said, of skin cancer, breast cancer is the most common cancer in American women. With 1 in 8 American women developing breast cancer in her lifetime, this year nearly 3,500 Texas women alone will succumb to breast cancer. Ovarian cancer is the 5th most deadly cancer among American women because it's a silent cancer, vague symptoms, and almost nearly 1,000 women in the Texas area will succumb to this. But Gift of Life, and with us, we are cancer survivors, so we know the importance of early detection. And Gift of Life is the most preeminent cancer fighting organization of its kind in the state of Texas. Through education, awareness, and early detection, which is so important, Gift of Life seeks to reduce the devastation caused by cancer in our communities. Gift of Life also strives to help medically underserved women and men in our area receive the diagnosis, treatment, and compassionate support that we all need to beat this cancer. This year, Gift of Life will host the Julie Richardson Proctor 5K run and Monster Dash, and it is going to be October the 29th, on October the 29th in Beaumont downtown. But what we want to say is that all funds that are raised in this area go directly to benefiting the citizens in Orange. And just alone, for residents here in Orange, 111 clients to date have received services from Gift of Life. Screenings, 102, diagnostic tests, 40, 3 biopsies, and breast cancer diagnosis. We've had 3 breast cancer diagnoses. And we don't just leave you there, we take you all the way through the entire process. The diagnosis, treatment, and also aftercare is very important. And we have all of those programs in place. Here, monthly, I don't want to take up too much time, but we do have monthly screenings and they are free to the public. Here at Baptist Hospital, just call the hospital, just call Gift of Life, go online and you'll see the dates, but they are free. And we just want to thank you once again for allowing us to present this much needed information before you. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're just a short note, please, sometimes this topic falls between the cracks. Men get breast cancer too. In the years that I've been with the Gift of Life, I've done 4 men to present themselves with breast cancer. So men need to be aware too. It's rare, albeit, but it's possible. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will move on to the consent agenda, items 7A and 7B. September 20th, 2022, special call city council meeting minutes, and September 27th, 2022, regular city council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Hennigan, a second from Ms. Salter. Mr. Birch? Aye. Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Presentation. So now we have a presentation on the proposed improvements to the Cove Recreation Area. Mr. Nall.
If you remember, the city bought the Old Cove School, elementary school property, and we demolished that building a few years ago. And then this last year, we put up a fence on the DuPont Drive side of the property. That's a few years. We would like to make some additional improvements to the property. One will be a walking trail, kind of around the perimeter of the property, kind of a meandering walking trail to make it more interesting. And then also, we would like to put in some park benches and some sunshade areas whereby people can sit under these shelter, these pavilions, these structures to provide shade with sitting underneath. And then we would also, thanks to Dow Corporation, they have contributed some grants to us as well. One of the grants is to put up a kiosk at the park, and the kiosk will be a 2-sided kiosk, and one side will explain kind of the ecology of the area of Adams Bayou and the area. The other side of the kiosk, we want to make that to educate people about the history of Chemical Road, and that's the petrochemical plants on Chemical Road to provide us either pictures or historic information to really explain the growth of the area and preserve that so that people are aware of the importance of Chemical Road to us and the importance of the ecology as well. And then also to put in a playscape. And the playscape will be similar in value to one that's going in at Brownwood Park, but it won't be exactly the same.
That's a
It'll be
nice
a little
one.
different kind.
That's a nice one.
So, and then some picnic tables, some trash receptacles, an area for parking. We'll be building that in a few years. And then a water fountain also to go in. One of the things we would also like to put in is we have come across a company that sells these kind of park benches. They're shaped like a butterfly. And then you sit, on the seat and everything, but they come in different sizes and everything. And we think that will just add a little more attraction to the park rather than just a plain, square park bench or anything, but actually, try to get some of these with supply chain issues, you never know, but we're gonna try to get some of these, butterfly park benches to put there. Make it a little more attractive,
There you go.
you know, and then also, if you'll go back, Mike, one of the things, we're looking at, if, funds allow, is, in the upper left corner, is to build a little village back there. We have some of these small houses out at Lionsden Park and everything, but to get more of those and put those there and create like a little village and everything. The kids, little kids just really love it. They like to go in and play store, play house, or things like that. You know, kind of create a miniature city, if you will, in that area and really promote that. So, and then also, you know, there's a possibility that we will put some orange trees up there.
Yes, that's awesome.
You know, really promote orange and native orange trees and everything like that. So we've got, I think, some exciting plans for the area. Now, the money is coming from a combination of community development block grant funds in the amount of $200,000, the public works operating budget, which is in the budget you just approved, in the amount of $80,000, and then $70,000 in grants from Dow Corporation, which we're really very appreciative of. And if other businesses, industries, whatever want to contribute towards the project as well, we will certainly entertain those as well. But we think this will really enhance the area of the Cove and give people down in the Cove an area to go to and relax and enjoy themselves, as well as give children in the Cove an area to play.
Man, great job, man. Seriously, golly. Listen, thank you to your department. Thank you to everybody that's done this, because this has been something that we have been working on for several years. I know that you have done an amazing job with this. It's crazy, just to give you guys a quick rundown before we vote on it, just to show you how this team works together. So I work for Dow Chemical. The lady that wanted to do the grant called me and said, hey, we've got like $20,000. What can we do? And I was in a meeting with Mike and Jay was like, hey, get with Kelvin, let's tell him about the Cove Park. So then when Dow heard about the Cove Park, they said, no, we're not gonna do 20, we'll do 70. And just that quick, it tripled. And so it was like just having the right people in the right place, you know, God pushing us in the right direction. Here's an area that's been overlooked for a long time. There's new businesses coming in, now we have a park. Great job, awesome. Great job. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is just a presentation, there's no motion or vote.
Okay, just President, okay, because I'm ready to vote on it when it's time. And last but not least, make
There's
sure
strong
you,
objections to what we're trying to do.
just make sure you call Jarvis Buckley. Just make sure you call Jarvis Buckley, that way he knows what we're doing. Okay. That it for the presentation? Okay. Thank you once again. Also to item 9A, consider an ordinance by the City of Orange, Texas, denying Entergy Texas Incorporated statement of intent and application for authority to change rates filed on July 1st, 2022, finding that the meeting complies with the Open Meetings Act, making other findings and provisions related to the subject, and declaring an effective date. Mr. Coombs.
Mayor and council, good morning. Again, we got an advisement from the law firm to deny this rate request. It'll be, you know, if you approve this one, we'll put it again on the next case.
Motion. Can we have a motion and a second? Mr. Burge? Aye. Ms. Hennigan? Aye. Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Combs. Item 10A, consider a resolution awarding a contract to Bright Star Contracting in an amount not to exceed $267,200 for bid 2022-50 on the MLK lift station construction in connection with American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds. Mr. Ingram.
Mayor, Council, as we know, we've been working on Beagle, lift station construction is underway. However, if you have Beagle as the top step, the next step down will be MLK. So this is an addition to making our sewer system more profitable.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Ingram? Okay, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, second and a third. Mr. Birch? Aye. Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Ingram. On to item 10B, consider a resolution awarding a contract to Triangle Civil Services in the amount of $255,000 124 for the Riverside Pavilion drainage improvements and bollards placement. Mr. Ingram.
If
or
you don't
Mr.
mind,
Trahan.
Mayor, I'm gonna make a few introductory comments and then turn it over to Mr. Ingram, okay? Just to remind you, when we were looking at hotel occupancy tax funds, not only were we considering organizational funding, but one of the things that we discussed was Old Orange City Hall, but we also discussed the phased approach to the Riverside Pavilion, which we do have a phased approach because we want to continue to improve the infrastructure out at the Riverside Pavilion because of the magnitude of events and just it's the right thing to do. And the funding does allow under Chapter 351 because we're promoting the arts, we're promoting music, we're creating the opportunity to enhance the hotel industry. So this next agenda item is the first phase in that improvement project that will basically improve the drainage out at the site. Because if you recall, a year ago, we didn't have the beautiful weather that we had this time around, and people were walking ankle deep in mud to get to the pumpkin display, right? So this is a carryover from Mr. Jim Wolf in terms of his vision for continual improvement. James Ingram is going to discuss this storm drainage plan as well as the bollards placement. And then some additional phases that will be coming to you at some point is improving the entrance to the pavilion with a demolition and new concrete from Simmons Drive going in. We'll discuss light fixtures at some point along Astoria Drive where all the vendors are located. We'll discuss improving parking not only inside the venue, but what improvements we could consider across the street of Simmons Drive at the Simmons Field that the City of Orange owns. So I want to specify that this is an approved expenditure through hotel occupancy tax. So under Public Works, Mr. Ingram is going to take the lead on this particular agenda item, and keep in mind, we'll be coming back to you with additional phases to improve the venue. Okay? So James, I'll turn it over to you.
So if you look at these are our phases. One will be the drainage. 2 is the entrance. 3 would be the lighting. 4, of course, is the parking. From this point, I'll bring you to the drainage. As Mr. Trahan acknowledged, last year we had a natural drain to this area, and people were shin deep in mud. It wasn't a very good time, although it turned out to be. So, being that this is actually the natural drain area, we went with about a 6-foot wide drainage basin. Not like the one in the front that collects grass and mud, because before every event we have to clean it. So this one is gonna have two foot landings on either side and a 2-foot grade in the middle. Be about 6 inches deep. We also wanted to make sure that it was not gonna break whenever our mowers ran over it, or if the venue itself has to bring in vehicles from this side. So we went to this design. It's heavy construction, can take a truck, anything. When we do need to clean it, the fasteners are stainless, we can remove the grate, pressure wash it out, and go on. No one was stumbled or tripped into a ditch, concrete ditch. No kids are playing and running around, all this other stuff. It's actually flat or a little bit below grade, so the water will be gathered and escorted off the premises. That being said, along with the drainage in this area, we're bringing in wood bollards to keep vehicles from entering, except for where we have the 2 entrances, and they'll have metal bollards that you can remove. The distance is about 5'5", so golf carts can pass through, vehicles cannot. These will be wood. We started off to link them with a cable, but then we started thinking with the traffic going back and forth, we just make it narrow enough so that ATVs and so on and so forth could actually do it. And then we're actually doing the rest of the concrete sidewalk to make it look, as it is up here. The total price is from a new company in this area, but we've looked at their work and it's really, really nice work. Well worth what their bid is. Do you have any questions?
I'll just make a comment saying thank you, because I think that it's something that we definitely need to make continuous improvements on. To look up and to see Dow Thursdays bring out a great crowd. Orangetober, I don't know any numbers just yet, but several thousand people. The gumbo cook-off that the chamber helped us with. And it's like, all these people are coming out there, so let's make sure we continue to improve, and because I think it's gonna continue to grow. So I definitely support this, thank you. Do we have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Do we have a motion and a second? Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? A motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Item 10C, consider a resolution approving an EPC infrastructure grant agreement with Sulzer Electromechanical Services at 3904 Tulane Road in an amount not to exceed $150,000. Mr. Trahan.
Yes, sir, Mayor. So this is a follow-up to this morning's EDC board meeting in which a motion was approved at that point in time. Now it moves to the council in the form of a resolution. First reading will follow up with a final reading in the next 2 weeks. So I'll turn it back over to you and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments? I have a motion.
Motion. Okay.
Do we have a motion and a second? Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. On to item 10D, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the Lutcher Theater for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $50,000 for fiscal year 2023. Mr. Trahan.
Yes, sir. So Mayor and Council, I'd like to make a few comments and then we'll take one agenda item at a time, and there are 11 of them for us to consider. To kind of backtrack a little bit, just for the benefit of the public, the CDB staff promotes a 2-month application period during the summer. Once that application deadline is hit, CDB staff organizes all of the applications, they're date stamped. Then it's taken to the advisory board in the form of a workshop. At that point in time, it's discussed, it's reviewed, then the advisory board simply makes a recommendation to staff to bring to you as a council. I do want to include that not only is it the CDB staff, the advisory board, but also the finance department is involved in this process, as well as the city secretary office, because there's a tremendous amount of steps and work that has to take place to get to this point. So that being said, it leads to these resolutions at this point in time. The public hearing is held, you as a council make your decision in terms of what that dollar amount will be awarded. Now it positions to resolutions in terms of each organization that you as a council previously approved during a follow-up to the public hearing. So we're at that point right now, Mayor, if you don't mind, let's take one at a time so we can take formal action on each resolution. I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, so we have the first one on the table, which is $50,000 for Lutcher Theater. Do we have any comments or questions? We have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Item 10D, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the Lutcher, Consider 10E, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the Heritage House of Orange County Association for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $15,000 for fiscal year 2023. We have a motion.
Motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Item 10F, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the Greater Orange Area Chamber of Commerce for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $50,000 for fiscal year 2023. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. A motion from Mr. Childs, a second from Mrs. Salter. Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Item 10G, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the Southeast Texas Arts Council for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $3,500 for fiscal year 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Can we have a motion and a second? Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? A motion passes. Item 10H, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the Orange Lions Club for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $6,000 for fiscal year 2023. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Salter, a second from Mr. Burge. Mr. Burge?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Item 10I, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Adventures 2000 Plus for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $2,500 for fiscal year 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Salter, a second from Mr. Bailey. Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter? Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. On to item 10J. Consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the Gulf Coast Cajuns chapter for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $3,000 for fiscal year 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Do we have a motion and a second? Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Item 10K, consider a motion authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Dragon Lady Airboat Services for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $3,000 for fiscal year 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. On to item 10L. Consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Crudionics for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $45,000 for fiscal year 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion from Ms. Hennigan, a second from Mr. Birch. Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Item 10M, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with the Orange Community Players for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $2,000 for fiscal year 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Motion passes. Item 10N, consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Three Bros Running Company for allocation of hotel motel tax funds in the amount of $2,000 for fiscal year 2023. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Okay, and motion passes. Done with those. Okay, item 11A, consider a motion approving action taken by the Orange EDC in the form of a motion of intent approving an EDC incentive for Whataburger Burger Works at 3124 North 16th Street, Orange, Texas, for eligible infrastructure improvements in an amount not to exceed $300,000 for the purpose of economic development. Mr. Trahan.
Yes, sir, Mayor. So this is a follow-up to an EDC public hearing that was held prior to this council meeting, in which the EDC Board of Directors voted to move the project forward with a motion. Now it goes to you as a council. Then we enter into the 60-day waiting period for the city attorney's office to formally draft the agreement to move forward with the incentive. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, do we have any questions or concerns for Mr. Trahan? Okay, if not, we have a motion.
Motion.
And a motion and a second. Mr. Birch?
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Aye.
Mr. Childs?
Aye.
And Mr. Bailey? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Trahan. I'm very excited to have another business joining us here in the city of Orange. Okay, on to item 11B. Consider a motion reappointing or appointing resident/civilian to the Orange Economic Development Board of Directors for a 2-year term with specified dates of October 11th, 2022 through October 11th, 2024. Mr. Trahan.
Okay, so if I can frame our discussion for just a moment, before we actually go into the discussion. Actually, it's a 2+2 type of reappointment/appointment. There are 2 resident civilian positions that are up for reappointment or new appointment. So let me discuss those. Devon Williams, who serves as our EDC board president, is up for reappointment, or you could consider 2 other resident applications that have been submitted. And that includes applications by Mike Kennedy, as well as Mr. Dwayne Bullard. The other thing that we could do is consider the second appointment that is also a resident/civilian appointment or reappointment. Mr. Mina Horn is up for reappointment. So what I'd like to do is take those 2 first, and then we'll move to the council member appointments. So considering that Mr. Mike Hennigan is one of the applicants that you may want to consider, I'll turn it over to you, council member Caroline Henry.
I'll abstain from the next 2 items.
All right, Mayor, so I'll turn it back over to you for discussion, and if we can, let's take them one at a time, okay?
Okay, so the first one is open for nomination.
All right.
I'd like to re-nominate Devon Williams.
Okay. So we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. So Mr. Burge,
Aye.
Ms. Salter, Mr. Childs,
Aye.
and Mr. Bailey.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. So Ms. Devon for that one. Item 11C, consider a motion reappointing resident civilian to the Orange Economic Development Board of Directors for a 2-year term with specified dates of October 11th, 2022 through October 11th, 2024. And that name is Ms. Tremina Horn.
Correct. Or you could consider the new appointment of
Oh,
the
not
two
the-
applicants that I mentioned in terms of Mike Hennigan or Mr. Dwayne Fuller.
I'd like to nominate Tremina Horn.
Okay, we have,
Second,
okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Burge?
Aye.
You can on this one. Ms. Hennigan? Oh, no, she can't.
She's-
I'm sorry.
she's
My
abstaining,
bad.
if you don't mind.
Okay, Mr. Burge,
Aye.
Ms. Salter,
Aye.
Mr. Childs,
Aye.
Mr. Bailey. Okay, so that, got that one. 11B, consider a motion reappointing appointed council member to the Orange Economic Development Board of Directors for a 2-year term with specified dates of October 11th, 2022 through October 11th, 2024.
I want to nominate Albert Buckley.
Excuse, if you don't mind, let me make a few comments, if you don't mind, before we do that. All right, so we have 2 council members that are up for either reappointment or subject to new appointment. Paul Birch, as well as Brad Childs. So you have the option either to reappoint those 2 council members, or you can rotate and allow 2 other council members to serve. So now I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Okay, so we have, for council member, do we have a motion?
I want a motion to nominate Paul Birch.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr., oh, you can't say for yourself. Ms. Hennigan?
Aye.
Ms. Salter?
Is that?
Huh?
Okay.
Was it yea or nay?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Childs?
Aye.
Mr. Brad, I almost said Bradley, I'm sorry, Mr. Bailey.
Bailey.
Okay, so motion passes. And then to our next one, consider a motion appointing council member to the Orange Economic Development Board of Directors for a 2-year term with specified dates of October 11th, 2022 through October 11th, 2024. Mr. Trainer.
Yes, so this is the position held by Councilmember Brad Childs. You can choose to reappoint Mr. Childs, or you can consider a nomination of a different council member to rotate in and out. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion.
A motion to nominate Brad Childs.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Mr. Burge.
Aye.
Ms. Hennigan.
Aye.
Ms. Salter.
Well, I like an opportunity to rotate in, so I will just say nay, so that I have an opportunity.
Okay, Mr. Child, well, you can't vote for yourself.
I can't, well, no, that's true.
And Mr. Bailey.
Aye.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, so, okay, so,
5-1 is what you have right now.
okay, so motion passes, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 12A, City Manager Report.
Mayor, council, this morning, they should be looking at the last little, couple of items at the new recreation center. Hopefully that will all pass. And when I get the okay that everything's done, that we got our certificate of occupancy, and not till then we'll schedule the, ribbon cutting. So hopefully next week, hopefully, but just put that in pencil and I'll get with you once I hear that, and we'll figure out when I'll text y'all. But we're planning kind of like in the afternoon, early evening. Everybody's all done.
Sounds good, that's it?
That's all I have.
All right, City Council Report. Mr. Burge.
Just a great time this past weekend. I just can't say it enough how awesome it was.
Ms. Hennigan.
I second that. We enjoyed it. Did a great job. Thank you.
Ms. Salter.
We just have so much going on, and I'm glad that so many people come out and just really take part in this community event, so. And thank you again for that, all that y'all did, hard work.
Mr. Childs.
Orange Oktoberfest was absolutely amazing. I had to base my prayer off which I did out there. It was a miracle. Thank you.
Mr. Bailey.
Good.
You know when he's upset, well, he'll tell you when he's upset, but most times he just relaxed. I like that. Once again, great job by everybody. I think that we are moving in the right direction. One thing that I do like to reiterate to everyone is that, of course, we are human, right? We're not gonna get everything just right, but I do believe that the greater good is happening for this community. Once again, like I will always say, we do put God first in all that we do, which is why we pray at our meetings, we pray at our events, and I think that, I know that, we've had our ups and downs, but we're moving in the right direction. With that being said, there was also a few little discrepancies that came about this year from the hotel motel tax funds that were given out. And so what I would like to request and ask of the entities that apply is, if you have time, that we have about normally 22 to 24 meetings a year. I would like to invite you to please visit. We would like to receive updates, feedback, and what's going on in your organizations through the year. We want to know if your organization's struggling, or if you're behind, or you may need a little bit of extra help, because if we don't hear about it, we go by what has been recommended by staff and by the group, and we move according to that. We're not here to hurt, we're here to help. But we only can help when we know what's going on. So for those who are watching, for those who are listening, please come visit us. We'd like to see you more than once a year if possible. And because we want to help and we want to make Orange grow. So with that being said, I will move to adjourn to close executive session. Deliberation with city attorney pursuant to chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Deliberation with legal counsel pursuant to Texas Government Code section 551.071. Consultation with attorney regarding pending or contemplated litigation, Herman and Joanne Rainey versus the City of Orange. And also deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property as authorized by Texas Government Code section 551.072 regarding the purchase and or value of real property from expansion of municipal facilities. At this time, you're welcome to hang out with Ms. Manasco and her wonderful staff at the library, or enjoy this wonderful weather. And we'll let you know when we can get you and bring you back in.